My name is Wallace Bradley, and I'm the host of the Bradley Report. Let me start over. Sometimes I forget. I'm Dr. Wallace Bradley, the host of the Bradley Report. I'm also the president of United in Peace, Inc. Got an interesting story. Y'all know we're a week away before the November 5th election. The issues that's brought to you on this show today was created by none other than the chairman of United in Peace, Inc. And that's none other than my wife, Terry Marsh Bradley. This show is being presented by United in Peace, Inc. I know a lot of you saw what happened Sunday at Madison Square Garden. It's an old saying, 3 people that's neighbors watch someone come in and grab one of the neighbors and take him away. And the other 2 say, well, you know, he must have did something, and they know he didn't do nothing wrong. The next day they come and they grab one of the other neighbors, and there's one neighbor left. And the first thing the neighbor left says, we should have did something to stop them from getting the first neighbor. What do you mean by that, Gator? I'm glad you asked. The Latino community was quiet. Not all of them. Some of them were saying it was wrong when Trump and J.D. Vance lied, talking about Haitian immigrants was eating dogs and cats and eating up the people's pets, and that knowing that the Haitian community, they were legal immigrants. The Jewish community didn't say too much. The lesbian and gay community didn't say too much. But that thing in Madison Square Garden woke all the neighbors up this time. When that guy that Trump knew, all those racist individuals he had speak before him, it reminds us of a Ku Klux Klan meeting, but a lot of people say it reminds them of an event that happened in the 30s. Everybody know about Trump and his Hitler piece and the way he acted as if he was Hitler. As a matter of fact, J.D. Vance, his nominee for vice president, even said that he was America's Hitler. J.D. Vance said it before the generals said it, and definitely before Vice President Kamala Harris said it. But when they saw all the racism in there, and everyone started looking at one another, probably some of the African Americans that was there in New York started looking at, is he talking about me? Yeah. The Latino community, especially the Puerto Ricans, realized when they heard that joke, where that guy said, and I'm paraphrasing, that the island of Puerto Rico was like a bunch of garbage or floating garbage or whatever it is. Then it made some of the Puerto Ricans that was in there realize, wait a minute, Trump really don't care about us. We hearing what this guy's saying, And it just dawned on us when the hurricane came through there, Trump didn't care about Puerto Rico, and he was the president. And we're going to see that for yourself, what he did then. Then the few Jewish people that was there realized how Trump and this Hitler piece where Trump told his generals he wanted to have generals like Hitler's generals. And then they said, oh, wait a minute. We've heard this before. Then the white women and the black women and the Hispanic women and the Indian women that was there realized, oh, wait a minute. We let him get away before, and we didn't pick Hillary. And this man came in there and took our rights away from us and bragging on it. The same way like he was bragging that he could grab a woman in a private party and nothing would happen. Racism and hate ain't what Gator is saying. We're gonna show you what they saying. So, without further ado, from me to you, not just because I voted early, I'm asking y'all to go vote too. But Sister Amani, let's go to work so the people can see for themselves.
Wasn't taught in the schools.
Like a head coach huddling with his team for a fourth quarter drive in a tight game, Danny Davis gathering with a group of black men on the west side to rally support for Vice President Kamala Harris.
And somehow, there's the notion circulating that we're not going to vote for her. How foolish could anybody be?
She is the one that's truly coming out with resources to help our community, from our black men to our various communities. She is the one that we need.
This effort to rally black men behind Harris comes at a time when Donald Trump seems to be gaining support among that voting group. The former president is returning to Wisconsin for rallies in Green Bay and Milwaukee this week. Willie Wilson, who last time voted for Donald Trump, switching his allegiance this time.
I'm here to say that I've already voted for Vice President Harris.
The concerns of the Harris campaign evidenced by her recent events with the Obamas and by Mayor Brandon Johnson's recent trips to Pittsburgh and Detroit. On Sunday, Danny Davis was in Milwaukee to stump for Harris.
To me, it says they're very worried. And when you're worried about your base vote this late in the game, that's something that gets people's attention. That's something that to be concerned about.
I asked Davis and the group if these efforts to help Harris might be a case of too little, too late.
But I think that the bigger charge for them right now is turnout. It's making sure that they get the people they know are going to vote for them out rather than trying to convince people.
The question that remains is, can this effort by the Harris campaign make a significant impact on voters with just 8 days until the election?
What was key when Danny put the call out, just to show that everybody got a right to be who they want to be for, but then we got to stand for what's right. So for Danny to reach out to Willie Wilson, for Willie Wilson to come and let it be known, the things that he have heard and the things that he have seen, he's no longer bamboozled by Trump and the MAGA party. He didn't say he's going to stop being a Republican. That wasn't the issue. If Cheney and Bernie Sanders, left and right, can come together to make things right, and that is to make sure that Trump don't get elected, that's for the betterment of America. So the money hit the next one.
To bring in younger, newer equity members. You know, the development contract was sort of a big deal, but there's a lot that's been going on with reproductive rights, with support for if a person gets into some kind of a medical issue and they're on tour, there's no fund to send them back to be able to be treated or to deal with problems.
That was our next guest, actress, model, entrepreneur, Brook Shields, during her recent 50 over 50 interview with Forbes' Maggie McGrath. After a lifetime as an actress and model, at 59, she's now pivoting to labor leader and CEO. Brook Shields was recently elected president of the Actors Equity Association, a union representing approximately 51,000 actors and stage managers in the U.S. She's also the founder and CEO of Commence, a hair company for women over the age of 40. And I just found out I desperately need Commence for my COVID hair. Okay, she was also honored on Forbes and Know Your Value's 50 over 50 list this year. And Brook Shields joins us now. Also with us, the team, vice chair of the Forbes and Know Your Value 3050 Summit, Huma Abedin, and the aforementioned Maggie McGrath. She is editor of Forbes Women. Great to have the team together. And Brooke, join us.
I'm so happy to be with these women. Thank you.
We are going to be celebrating women all day today, especially in light of what's happening in history. We need a strong, powerful community, and we are building it. I guess I want to ask you what I ask our 50 or 50 honorees, because you started working at the age of 11 months old as the Ivory baby.
Very ambitious.
You were a very ambitious baby, but honestly, even in your teens, superstardom with movies, and that has its attributes as well, and consequences and difficulties and challenges. But you've been working for so long. I wonder, when you were in your teens and 20s, did you ever imagine your career after 50?
50 sounded very old to me when I was a child. You know, you think that's old people. And then you start to advance closer to it and you realize it feels younger and younger for me.
Yeah.
So I don't think I didn't really have too much looking forward with a career. We didn't really have a plan. We just sort of basically had to keep the lights on in our apartment.
Yeah. It was all white space or blank space for us when we were growing up. And now, when you look at Kamala Harris and Liz Cheney on stage, and you look at the women on these lists, now in 4 years exploding, we have to do 4 categories. We have so many submissions. We don't know what to do with it. We have women lying up. We realize, Huma, 60's the new 40.
And I've decided that I'm now the new 20 because now I'm in my 40s. But Brooke, I wanted to ask you, speaking of pivoting from careers, you said you were inspired to start Commence during the pandemic when you were talking to women over 40 and they told you they felt invisible and discounted. What were they saying to you?
They were saying that it was absolutely shocking to them that they have raised families, they've run companies or haven't run companies, been stay-at-home moms, had such a history of experience that when they finally start coming into their own and feeling their own person and feeling that they have more to do and their kids are leaving, maybe, that the world of marketing, if you look at marketing, if you look at the way we advertise, you sort of, I always joke, you're either the hot girl at the bar or you're in Depends. Nothing against Depends. I would like to represent the company when I need them. But don't make me laugh. But the truth is, we get over, they jump over us. And now everybody said, yeah, but we're starting to talk about menopause. Great, but we're not just menopause. And I started Commence as a community to really get to know that I wasn't crazy, that I wasn't the only one feeling that I had so much more to do. And the women that I know, I think the why it's so shocking is that we don't fit into one category. We are all different in our own, in many, many ways. We're diverse, we're different socioeconomics. And when you look at that swath of women, even millennials are turning 40. So it's getting, this demo is getting wider and wider, and it needs to be addressed, and we're formidable, which is a bit scary.
Long runway. Maggie.
Well, Brooke, as you talk about women feeling invisible, you have a new memoir coming out early next year called Brook Shields is Not Allowed to Get...
We got to hear the voices from everyone on how they feeling, because everyone needs to know. It ain't just up to the black men. It ain't just up to the Puerto Ricans. It's up to all of us to play our part to make sure that Trump and the MAGA Republican candidates, Trump don't get elected and the MAGA candidates don't get re-elected or elected. I think I got a piece in there, might be dealing with the Social Security. If I don't, let's go to the next one.
A floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean. I think it's called Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico.
I will never forget what Donald Trump did. He abandoned the island and offered nothing more than paper towels and insults. Puerto Ricans deserve better. As president, I will always fight for you and your families, and together we can chart a new way forward.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
A floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean. I think it's called Puerto Rico.
That showed you what I was talking about earlier. And that's why that's why the Puerto Rican community is in an uproar. So then they start coming in their musical, iconic individuals within the Latino community, especially the Puerto Rican community, came out. He was in Pennsylvania, wasn't that far from New York when he was saying that. They come to find out there's over 200-some thousand registered voters there. That's upset. And they're gonna show how mad they are at the polls to show him and America and that MAGA movement that's full of hate and want to do a mass deportation, because it dawned on them and everyone else with that Project 2025, it didn't mean none of us any good. He talking about mass deportation. That go for Haitians, that go for Colombians, and everyone else that came to America. And he going at those that's against him to lock them up. Let's go to the next one, Sister Monty.
Though, has largely revolved around two things. First, a racist comedian who was part of the program before Trump even spoke, who said some truly vile things, targeting Latinos, calling Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage, that's a quote, mocking black people, Jewish people, Palestinians, really horrible stuff across the board. Now, none of this should exactly be surprising. I mean, Trump has built for himself quite a body of racist and xenophobic work over the years. We've just shown you a couple of the headlines there. And overall, the reaction, though, to last night, in many ways, has been good for the Harris team, because it sparked an outcry, even though it's not surprising. And I mean, the truth is, just like Harris said today, this is really nothing new.
I think last night Donald Trump's event in Madison Square Garden really highlighted a point that I've been making throughout this campaign. He is focused and actually fixated on his grievances, on himself, and on dividing our country. This is not new about him, by the way. What he did last night is not a discovery. It is just more of the same and maybe more vivid than usual. Donald Trump spends full time trying to have Americans point their finger at each other, fans the fuel of hate and division, and that's why people are exhausted with him. That's why people who formerly have supported Donald Trump, have voted for him, are supporting me, voting for me.
Sure, it might have been more vivid, as she just said, but it's yet just another reminder. I mean, just 8 days out from the election of exactly who Trump is. And the Harris team also didn't waste time putting an ad on the air saying exactly that.
A floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean. I think it's called Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico.
I will never forget what Donald Trump did. He abandoned the island and offered nothing more than paper towels and insults. Puerto Ricans deserve better. As president, I will always fight for you and your families, and together we can chart a new way forward.
Now, besides all the racism in those 6 hours, the other big headline that seemed to emerge from last night is about a secret plan Trump said he has with his little buddy, Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
And I think with our little secret, we're going to do really well with the House, right? Our little secret is having a big impact. He and I have a secret. We'll tell you what it is when the race is over.
Now, when the two major takeaways from a 6-hour-long big closing message rally 8 days out from Election Day, or 9 days out, I guess, yesterday, are about how racist you are and speculation about your secret plans to steal an election, it's pretty clear you don't have a whole lot else going for you. And at the end of the day, this is all very revealing about what Trump and his team are thinking right now. It tells us that they think they can win like this. They think they can close out this campaign on racism and fear and hate. They think that will win. They think that will work. But if that doesn't work, then don't you worry. Trump has a secret plan with Mike Johnson. That's what last night told us. Hatred is the closing message, and conspiring with Mike Johnson seems to be the backup plan. Joining me at the big table tonight is conservative attorney George Conway, Politico White House correspondent Eugene Daniels, and former spokesman for Hillary Clinton, Philippe Reines. Okay, I will just say the vibes over here are pretty, because you're a journalist, so you don't have any vibes, but these vibes are pretty calm.
Yeah.
Okay. But let me ask you, because I just gave my summary. I mean, it's 8 days now. It was 9 days last night. What does last night's rally tell you about Trump? Those were the headlines that emerged.
It's just more of the same, except he's accelerating. He's getting worse, and the people around him are getting worse because they're just catering to his desires. And he, that comedian was the perfect warm-up act for him. I mean, you saw some of the headlines that you put up there before. I mean, look, he's the guy who basically said we should trade Puerto Rico for Greenland because Puerto Rico is full of dirty people. He said, he talked about Haiti as a shithouse country. He said, people said shithole, and then the Republicans denied it. Remember that, saying he didn't say that. And the reason why they were able to die is because he used a different iteration. He said that he didn't want. I mean, he had this crude remark about watermelons last night, and he used to say he wanted guys with yarmulkes counting his money and not black guys. He wanted, he's been all over this is racism. He is a racist. He called me once moonface. He is a complete racist.
Well, I mean, some of this is why the notion that this is new or they're kind of walking away from it. I'm like, give me a break. Okay, let me ask you, Philippe, because it's hard in these campaigns at all times, but certainly the last week, and especially running against Donald Trump, which you have been in these rooms a week out of running against Donald Trump. It's like evil whack-a-mole. You have to decide what you respond to and what you don't. So what kind of discussions, if you're the Harris campaign, watching what Trump is doing, knowing what their proactive messages, are you having? What are you deciding day to day?
Well, I think he's helping that process along, because if someone just came out of an induced coma yesterday and they had to decide who to vote for in the next couple of days, this is a great encapsulation of it all. Last night, as you said, in 6 hours, it's really been a perfect reflection of the last, not just 6 years, but 9 years since he started his campaign by knocking, rapists and other criminals coming from Mexico. And today, we saw the clips that you have of Vice President Harris, who is talking about the future, talking about ambition, talking about looking forward. It was interesting. I don't know why, probably because I spent too much time on these things, but I went back and I read the debate transcript from last month. And you know what word Donald Trump never uses? Future. And I started thinking, you know what? I don't remember him saying it that up because he's too busy rewriting the past. And that's what we see at nights like last night. And I'll skip ahead to tomorrow. Tomorrow, the vice president's going to be standing pretty close to where we are, talking about what happened on January 6th. And that is an incredible reminder of this is a choice between two people. If this guy gets elected, he's going to pick up where he left off. Where he left off was applauding people who overran the Capitol. We left off where he was doing everything he could to just throw out ballots, basically. And, you know, to answer your question, like this 72-hour window or 48-hour window is putting her best foot forward and his accurate foot forward. And the truth is that we all need to realize that Donald Trump's true enemy is within his own head. And, you know, but we should be thankful for it because it's great that he can't pretend that he's anything else. And look, I think what's been funny is his team has been so happy about how last night went. You know what? Let's do a rally that every night for the next 8 days. I'll chip in to help get Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, right. You can air it on your feed. It's all good. Let me ask you, because Philippe mentioned the speech tomorrow night. You know, there are always many closing. You could say it's a closing message speech, but there are many closing messages of a campaign. Because if you look at what they're doing on TV, the Harris campaign is doing basically split between abortion, economy, and democracy, turning the page. What are you hearing about the speech tomorrow night? What are, from your reporting, should we be expecting from it?
Yeah, I mean, it is going to be both, for a lot of voters, an introduction of Harris, right? She's still having to do a lot of that bio work, and she's obviously going to talk about Donald Trump. And I think the way that she has done it, I've heard it's a longer speech, maybe sweepier.
I've heard it's going to be personal, too, which is interesting. Yeah.
Sweepier than maybe we're used to. Yeah. But it's not just going to be about January 6th, right? What we've seen over the last few months as her campaign has come to this end is that she started not talking about Donald Trump that much, right? But what her campaign and what she is feeling is that they feel like he's getting worse and darker, right? That is in their eyes. And objectively, his words are getting worse, right? And getting darker. When you look at his speeches, and we did a check for Politico, 20 of his speeches, darker, more racist language, more xenophobic language than we've ever seen before. Now, just as experts that watch these kinds of things,
you know, it was imperative that you saw that. This is no joke. You must get out there and vote. You must vote to elect Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz to become the next president and vice president of the United States. Vote, don't choke. It's on us. I did my job.